Weezer, Van Weezer album review. Let's chat about it. Hey guys, John here from What's Spinning here tonight to chat about the latest from Weezer, alternative rock legends, a band that I have officially just really run the entire gauntlet with. They have made me feel everything from bitter hatred of modern music to just making some of my favorite music ever. I mean, their discography is all over the place, and that's being nice. I mean, the Blue Album is a monumental album for a reason. It is a huge shift for alternative rock and power pop, and I mean, God, modern emo wouldn't be the same without Pinkerton. But, whew, it's been rough. It's been rough ever since. 2001's Green Album certainly has great singles, but it's also really short and incredibly inconsistent. Maldroid I was even less interested in. It seemed to me just really kind of half-baked. And the fact that I really loved Make Believe when I was like 14 still haunts me to this day. I thought the Red Album had a lot of great singles leading up to it, but the filler's really rough. And for the love of God, Ratitude, I still think it's their worst album. However, hear me out. Some of their later years have actually led to some pretty underrated gems from Weezer. I still think that Hurley Goes really underrated. There's a lot of great tracks on there. 2014's Everything Will Be Okay in the End. 2014's Everything Will Be Alright in the End was a huge jump in quality for the band and showed them putting out some of their best singles in years, like Eulogy for a Rock Band and Back to the Shack. And not for nothing, I still have absolutely nothing to say about this bad boy here, the White Album. Oh, geez, but then Pacific Daydream was practically a pop album. Their Teal album is fine, but for every good cover on there, like Happy Together and Everybody Wants to Rule the World, there's also a Paranoid, which was awful. And their Black album just, oh God, it's not good. But because it's Weezer, you never know when they're gonna pop out a good album, because earlier this year, I thought OK Human was a really nice piece of Baroque pop and just really enjoyable album. And now here we are a few months later, and Van Weezer is here, and it's alright. I mean, this album's a real mixed bag, but some of the better tracks here are actually some pretty decent guitar-driven tracks from Weezer. All the good ones is really freaking good. It's got a big crunchy riff, and it's easily one of the catchier tracks here. I don't know why, it just makes me feel really good. Like, for a guitar-driven power pop track from Weezer in 2021, this is fine. I personally also really love The End of the Game, but like if you told me a year ago that Weezer in 2021 were going to be focusing more on guitar solos and going back to their power pop roots, I don't even know if I would have wasted my time listening to this album, but this is a decent single. It's actually above decent. It's got a huge chorus, it just really feel good all around, really catchy, and I love the throwback sort of 80s power ballad vibes on I Need Some of That. In moments like this, I feel like Weezer own this sound and take it super seriously. I mean, it's completely over-the-top guitar-driven power pop, but if that sounds okay to you, this is more than viable. And I have a lot of the same feelings on Beginning of the End. It's super bold, it's super catchy, and let me tell you, on the few tracks here that are really good, they freaking soar. And yes, these guitar solos are so cheesy, and they continue to be so over the top, but for a couple of minutes, I think Weezer owned that. But, I mean, if you're asking me, I think Weezer should have kind of left it at one album this year. I've never been that high on the Hero single. I think it's nice and all, but it's just a little too light for me. Hearing this drop like 6 months ago actually made me worry about this album. I don't know, this just to me it seems so inoffensive. I feel like they've wrote this track so many times but much better in the past. I mean, I do like the energy here. It's, it's very heartfelt. And not for nothing, I think the guitar solo is great. But overall, this is not my cup of tea from Weezer in 2021. As a matter of fact, a whole mess of this album is not. This album has a dark side to it, man. And that most certainly comes out in Blue Dream. This is so bad. Like, I don't know where this came from. This, to me, reminds me of, like, the darkest moments from the Teal album. Where did this come from? Why are they just using the riff from Ozzy Osbourne's Crazy Train? But let me tell you, without melody or good songwriting or an electric performance, this track just fizzles out, and it's pretty horrific. And then we have one more hit, which has this big, crunchy riff that is just so unflattering. This reminds me of like some of the worst moments on Make Believe. Yeah, that's where we are. I don't know where this is coming from. I don't know who thought this was a good idea, but it's not for me. And then we get this weird, genuine metal breakdown towards the end, which is just so unflattering. And yeah, if some of you are into Sheila Needs Me, that's totally fine, but I thought this was pretty rough. I mean, the energy to this track is certainly commendable, but these lyrics are certainly not. I mean, it's a mixed bag of an album that had some pretty decent singles from Weezer in 2021 that shouldn't be too shocking right about now. Honestly, I think Sheila Can Do It is pretty decent. It's catchy, it's super breezy, almost has like a vintage pop flair to it. It just seems so obvious, and it just shows Weezer, you know, really working with that classic power pop sound and respecting it and nailing it. If Weezer came out with more material like this, I would be fine with that. And Precious Metal Girl is a delightful finale. It actually reminds me a lot of the finale to their White Album a couple of years ago. It is genuinely one of the most adorable and tender and genuinely sweet tracks that Weezer's wrote in a long time. I mean, when this album is good, a lot of the singles leading up to this thing were pretty darn good, and like I said, when it is good, they are churning out very likable, respectable power pop in 2021. On the other hand, this album has a very dark side to it that is a nightmare-fueled mixture of big guitar solos, terrible songwriting, and just, I don't know. I don't know what Weezer's thinking with a lot of this album. It's very hit and miss. It's a mixed bag from Weezer in 2021. Yeah, that shouldn't be too shocking to a lot of people. Feeling a strong 6 on this thing, but let me know what you guys think down below. If you liked the video, be sure to give us a like, give us a subscribe, and let me know down below what you would like for me to chat about in the future. And until next time, have a great day, guys.